Well.
Okay.
All right. Hi, I'm Sara Hill. I'm the CEO of Bookstr, and we are here with Dr. Deepak Chopra. We've had a little bit of technical difficulties, so sorry about that. He's certainly been a camper. Dr. Chopra, thank you so much for being
Thanks,
here.
Sara. Nice to be here.
If you don't know, now you know. He is the author of You Are the Universe, amongst many other wonderful pieces of work. I think this is your 50th book or something?
86th.
Yeah, 86th book. It's insane. You're so prolific. Not only that, but I heard some music that you were working on the other day as well. So I continue to be amazed by what you're doing, and I know our audience is the same.
Oh, you got to do something, right?
Yeah, yeah, certainly. So you guys don't forget to leave your questions in the comments, and I am checking my phone by the minute. So we are making sure to keep track of the comments and getting those questions answered for you by Dr. Chopra. But first, let's talk about the book a little bit, if you don't mind. We have a ton of different authors on our show, and I think this is one of the more special books that we've had. You Are the Universe, Discovering Your Cosmic Self and Why It Matters. And in this, you talk about, you bridge science and astrology and religion and astronomy and religion. Can you tell me what inspired you to write this book?
Well, the most common word we use in any language is I. I went to the movies. I'm here with Sara Hill. I like Chinese food. I don't like Donald Trump, etc. So I is the common factor in every experience, right? Mm-hmm. I was a child, I was a baby, I was a teenager, which should tell you something. I is the timeless factor in every experience. The experience is in time, like this experience is in time, right? It'll be over when we're done with the show. Mm-hmm. But the I that is identifying itself with this entity called Deepak Chopra, or the I that's identifying itself with Sara Hill, will go on to have another experience.
Sure.
This is a very important thing to realize, because all there is at the most fundamental level is awareness that we call I having experiences. And those experiences are in the form of what we normally call mind, body, and the world. Mm-hmm. But what is the mind? The mind is thoughts and feelings and images, imagination, emotions, which are modified forms of awareness itself. You can't have an image. If I ask you now, think of the Empire State Building, there's an image that flashes across the screen of your consciousness. Mm-hmm. So that image is a modified form of I. You just had the intention, there was the image.
Okay.
If I tell you to think of your favorite song, then you hear it. So I modifies itself as the song. What we don't realize is that's true of every perception. Sound is a modified form of awareness. So is texture, so is color, so is shape, so is everything that we call reality. So the universe is an experience in I or you. So is the body, so is the mind. When we get to the root of this, we understand that I is the soul or the spirit or the awareness or the consciousness that's constantly modulating itself as experiences that we call mind, body, universe as human beings. So when we really understand this, we also understand that experience is over as soon as it is born. But I is not subject to birth and death. So all spiritual traditions are actually based on a few things. The fear of death.
Right, that's a big one.
The fear of impermanence. The fear of the body getting old and dying. The fear of loss of a relationship. So, can you believe it? Religion is founded on fear.
Yeah. Can I believe it? Yes, I can.
It's founded
I'm not surprised.
Fear. But the religious experience is not. The religious experience is getting in touch with the source of all existence, which is awareness, And awareness experiences itself every moment as both the subject and object of experience. When we totally understand this, there's no fear of death, because then you realize that birth and death are human constructs based on misperception, based on what we call a mistake of the intellect. The mistake of the intellect is there's me and then there's everything else. Well, this me is part of everything else.
So does it mean that me as an entity is meaningless? Like, is it kind of like this is worthless?
Me as a process, as this body-mind that we are now calling Sara Hill, which is arbitrary. Your mother could have called you Margaret,
sure.
Right? But it's just
do I look like a Margaret? I'll take it.
She just created that, right?
Yeah.
And then you say this body-mind. But this body-mind was different when it was a teenager, or even a couple of years ago. There's not a single molecule in your body that was there 2 years ago, which is there now.
Wow.
So what we call this is a process in awareness. In the deeper reality, there's no such thing as a person, because a person is an intermittent stream of sensations, images, sense perceptions, thoughts, feelings that's arising, subsiding in every now, an eternal now. You are the eternal now in which this process is happening. To know this is to enjoy life, to be in love with existence and embrace it, and at the same time not be bound by it.
So,
it's freedom.
So what about the ego then, when it plays into
another
that?
Construct, another socially induced hallucination. If I look for you inside your body-mind, there's no one there. So actually the body-mind is an experience in you. Mm-hmm. So this is another misperception. I is somewhere here and the other is somewhere there. When in fact I is experiencing this, and all this simultaneously.
Wow. So what's your advice for those of us who struggle with ego, and who, I mean, that's like the average person, or, you know, it's a human thing.
Anytime you're struggling with anything, ask yourself, what or who am I thinking about? And you will realize you're thinking about an imaginary self.
Right.
And that in itself should actually ease your suffering. But the other way is turn it around and think of someone else and helping them, and suddenly there's no anxiety.
Yeah.
You know, when you think of yourself, this ego encapsulated hallucination, then you worry or you have anxiety. When you think of everybody else, you don't. It's that simple.
Absolutely. So talking about thinking of everyone else, you currently, I think you meditate for 2 hours a day. Is that right?
Yeah, but you know, meditation, and I live in a way that I'm always connected to the source of existence, which we call being. And so for me, that is also a feeling of what many psychologists call flow. There's richness of sensory experience, there's a sense of timelessness, there's present moment awareness, there is effortless creativity, effortless spontaneity, and I'm not showing off, this is my state. And
do you think that that's like healthy? Because I think like
this is very healthy.
Because think about like some like psychologists or like teachers, like imagine like if some, you know, like someone went in, you know, some young kid went into a classroom and was like, here, take all my things, like I'm gonna be fine, like don't worry about it. Like they're gonna send you to the hospital. You know what I mean? Like
we are living in such an insane world that we take everything that we see out there as normal. Eco-destruction, extinction of species, war, terrorism, social injustice, climate change, economic injustice. We think it's normal. It's insane. Mm-hmm. And for us to accept that as normal is to declare our own insanity. Mm-hmm. So I think we have to step back, watch what is happening and say, I'm not part of that insanity. Mm-hmm. You know, because the more we get grounded in our own being, the more we recognize our inseparability, the more love, compassion, joy, equanimity we experience, the more we allow our consciousness to spontaneously evolve in the direction of truth, goodness, harmony, beauty, and creativity, and insight and intuition, the happier we'll be and the more peaceful the world will be. It's up to us. But the world is right now a projection of our collective insanity. And we have to wake up to that insanity and say, how can we project a more peaceful, just, sustainable, healthier, happier, joyful experience of the world? Because the universe is an experience in our consciousness, and all interpretations of it are also in consciousness.
So what do you think, I have a few questions here, and don't forget we're taking your questions as well, and we will get to those. What do you think about dreams? Do dreams have any meaning at all? Or?
Well, dreams are excitations of consciousness, and they're based on the same thing that everyday experience is based on, which is how do we interpret our experiences of the past. And so in Eastern wisdom traditions, that's called karma. How you experience the past and how you interpreted it makes it more likely that you'll recycle those experiences. This leads to a very interesting question. Do we have any original thoughts at all? The answer is, unless it's a creative thought of Einstein or Mozart or a great artist or a scientist, most people don't have a single thought that's their own. It's just the recycling of the hypnosis of social conditioning. So dreams are a subtle aspect of consciousness, but this waking state is also a dream, right? Because in 5 minutes, what we're doing now will be part of a dream. By the time I finish this sentence, the beginning of the sentence is part of a dream. That's why Wittgenstein, the German philosopher, said our life is a dream, we are asleep. Once in a while we wake up enough to know that we're dreaming. So there's a waking dream and there's the dream that you have at night.
It's so beautiful.
And you have to step out of that and actually says, who's dreaming?
Yeah.
You are the dreamer, you're not the dream.
That's so beautiful.
Well,
that's really, really beautiful. Okay, and then also kind of back to what you were talking about before, what do you do? You're really big on being kind and kindness and love and doing that. What do you do if you're in a direct conflict with someone? So, what, like, not to be cliche, but like the bully in the school example, or what if you're having a real issue with someone? How do you approach it?
Bullies are people who are scared, afraid, and they should be called out, first of all. Nobody should tolerate a bully anyway. But then after you do that, you have to understand that they're really hurting. And you have to get to the root cause of their hurt, which is they never got attention or affection or appreciation or acceptance. Those are the 4 A's that people look for. Attention, being heard; affection, being cared for; appreciation, being noticed for all the good qualities they have; and acceptance, not trying to change, because each of us is unique as we are.
So do you think that people who are acting in like non-flow behavior or non-friendly behavior even, do you think that's just a result of them not having one of those things in their life? And you think everyone?
I think in every moment, what your personal reality is, whatever your personal reality is, including situations, circumstances, events, people, relationships, whatever that is, it's a result of your conditioned mind or your conditioning, which goes back not only to your childhood, but to your parents, to your economic conditions, to the environment you live in, to the fact where history shapes you. We are all products of history in a sense. So there's a lot of conditioning, and that conditioning influences how we think, how we perceive, how we feel, how we relate to each other, how we do our business, how we treat the environment. So the key here is to understand, first of all, that your mind is conditioned. Secondly, to question your habitual certainties, if you have a certain thought or a certain belief, I'm not good enough, or I'll never be successful, or whatever, ask yourself, why do you have that belief? How did you get it? Is it really true? Are you sure if it's true? How is it imprisoning you? Who would you be if you didn't have that particular thought? I understand now that all belief, doesn't matter what belief, God, heaven, hell, all these things, these are cover up for insecurity. You don't need belief, you need understanding, you need experience, and you need to get in touch with yourself that is beyond all conditioning. That's a process. That's why, you asked me, do I meditate every day 2 hours? And yes, I reflect. I engage in self-inquiry. I learn how to transcend my thought process. I don't take ownership of the mundane, ordinary thoughts that recycle through all of us all the time anyway, because they are part of the, as I said, hypnosis of collective conditioning, and most of them are about conflict. Who's good, who's right, who's wrong, who's ugly, who's beautiful, all these labels and judgments and definitions and evaluations that actually take us away from the truth.
Yeah, you're so right. I've never thought about it, but yeah, we're constantly evaluating.
The highest intelligence is to observe yourself without judging yourself, and then in that highest intelligence you will stop judging others as well.
Wow. So I have some more questions as well about your journey. So you have, how did you evolve into this state of higher being? Was it easy?
I'm a physician by training, and my initial insight was that you could have two patients who had the same illness, who saw the same doctor, got the same treatment, but they could have completely different outcomes. So I knew something was going on that was outside this physical, mechanistic interpretation of the body. At the same time, I was studying neurochemistry, and I realized that every emotion has a physical substrate to it, that our emotions, in fact, generate molecules. We now call them molecules of emotion: serotonin, opiates, oxytocin, dopamine. These are molecules you generate when you're feeling joy or happiness, or when you fall in love. On the other hand, if you're scared, afraid, you make adrenaline, cortisol, which has an effect on the immune system. So I started to realize that we couldn't separate mind from body. It's one thing. Then I went deeper and realized that both body and mind are actually activities of a deeper reality, which most people call spirit. I call it consciousness, awareness. It's more secular as a word, spirit. Certainly people think of spooky spirits and ghosts.
Oh, right.
But I realized that consciousness is the ultimate fundamental reality that experiences itself as mind, body, and universe. So it was a journey. It's been a long journey, 35 years or more, but I have let go of all my previous habitual certainties and ideologies and dogma, and I have, in a sense, relaxed into awareness, existence, consciousness, being, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm. So when you were, say, 20 years old, 25 years old?
25 years old, I was a hardworking intern and then resident, smoking a couple of packs of cigarettes a day, getting sloshed on whiskey over the weekends, and running around like crazy in the emergency room and taking care of stressed out patients and being stressed out myself.
Yeah, of course. And you're very far from that now.
That was another incarnation.
Mm-hmm. It's beautiful. Okay, we have a ton of questions out there. I'm sorry, we've been getting all of mine in. It's not fair, is it? Okay, we have Linda Rummer out there. She says, do you think more people are enlightened now than ever?
I think we have more people who are awake today than ever before in history. We think of great luminaries, the sages of the Upanishads, the wisdom traditions of the East, the prophets of the Old Testament, the Greek philosophers, but these were few people here and there, even though we admire them and read about them. Today, because of media, because of books, because of the way we can communicate, because we can share our ideas, and because we can exchange our insights with each other, more and more people are awake, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And do you think that the average person at least has more, what can the average person do to help awaken their soul inside, from the inside out?
Take time to be still, take time to reflect, ask yourself, who am I? What do I want? What's my purpose? What am I grateful for? What are my unique talents? What does a good relationship mean to me? Do I have any heroes, heroines in history, mythology, religion? What do I put my unique skills? How do I use them? How do I serve? Who benefits with what I do? What is really important to me in my life? What are the qualities I look for in a good friend? How do I serve a relationship? The more you reflect, the more you ask, the more you live these questions, the more life moves you into the answers. And then
so what if you
learn to be quiet.
What if you have the answers? You feel like you have the answers and they're like, oh, Maya Angelou, that was my hero, and you have all these answers. Then what do you do with it?
Then you live those answers. Actually, you don't even have to have the answers. You live the questions, and then life moves you into the answers. As an insight, as an intuition, as a relationship, as a coincidence, as a synchronicity, all those things. That's what I mean. Life should be effortless flow. No resistance, no anticipation, no regrets, just this moment as it is.
So say you hit a wall, don't fight the wall, right?
Don't fight, period. Be a lover, not a fighter.
I love it. Okay, we have Ashwara Patil. Thank you, Ashwara, for your question. They say, what inspired you to write this book?
What inspired me to write this book is that my co-author is a physicist, a cosmologist, a climate change expert, and I discovered that there are scientists who actually do understand that science is not a method for knowing the truth. Science is a method of inquiry, and it can be used to get closer to the truth. When you combine science, which is what's out there, with spirituality, which is who wants to know, then you have a great partnership, and that's how the book evolved.
You mentioned Einstein a few times, right, in the book. What do you think that he would have to say about your work, and what would you like to say to him?
Well, Einstein was one of the most brilliant people in all of time. As a mathematician, he was not that great. As a physicist, he was unbelievable. As a thinker, he was unbelievable. As a philosopher, too, he was a great philosopher in many ways, philosopher of science. But there was one problem, and that is that he was a realist, which means he believed that this universe that we experience is real. I just explained it's a dream, right?
Yeah.
So that's the opposite of being a realist, which in philosophy is called an idealist, that the universe is made of ideas, how we interpret experience. I'm neither a realist or an idealist. I'm a non-dualist, which means that all there is consciousness. So in the beginning of the book, there's a dialogue between Einstein and the great Indian sage Rabindranath Tagore. And they have a little bit of an argument about the nature of the universe. And Einstein says that the universe is as it is, and Tagore says, no, the universe that we experience is a human universe through a human brain and all of that. And it's only one aspect of reality. The universe doesn't look the same to an insect with 100 eyes, or to a dolphin, or to a bat. So the universe that you and I experience is a species-specific experience in humans, not in other life forms. Moreover, the universe that we experience as human beings is culturally conditioned. So, we take for granted the language, the definitions, the labels, and the descriptions as if they're real, and they become real if all of us agree on those interpretations. So I think Einstein today may have been more sympathetic to the idea that the universe is not real. The only thing real is the consciousness, which modifies itself as the experience of the universe.
Okay. And would you want to say anything to him?
I admire Einstein as I admire all the great thinkers of all time, but I believe on the nature of reality, Einstein was wrong.
Okay. I wish that I could hear you guys duke it out.
No, I don't like to do that.
No, I know.
We just kind of have a conversation.
Yes. We have a question here from Doreen. She says, did you like reading books as a child?
I did like reading books a lot as a child. I read a lot of fiction. I read Rudyard Kipling. I could at one time recite all the plays of Shakespeare.
Oh, wow.
In high school. I read all the great novelists and poets, from Tennyson to William Blake to Chaucer to Eastern mystics and poets like Rumi and Tagore. So yes, I was a very, very avid reader.
That explains a lot. I think we got a lot of readers out there as well. We have a question from Macy McFly. She says, what is your sign? And
you mean my astrological sign? I'm told it's Libra, but I don't kind of go into all that.
Yeah, you don't believe in that?
Yeah, some people do, but no, it's not of interest to me.
Okay.
Libra, though.
We have a question from Kate. She says, where did you get your glasses?
These glasses were originally the idea of my grandchildren when they were babies. They wanted to make me look sparkly. Oh. And then somebody in Europe, I think, what's that company that makes fake diamonds?
Oh, Swarovski?
Swarovski,
yeah.
They designed them.
How fun. We have another question from Kate. Says, have you always been spiritual?
I think everyone is spiritual. They don't know it. If you wonder about existence, if you wonder about meaning, purpose in life, then you are spiritual. Otherwise, we would all be biological robots. So I think somehow society is moving in that direction. It's time for all of us to return to more self-awareness. Spiritual just means being self-aware, that's all.
Okay. We have a question from Dawn. What's your advice for people to find their true purpose?
Ask yourself, what would you do if you had all the money in the world and all the time in the world? How would you spend your time? And how would you express your talents? And who would benefit? So when passion, purpose, and your talents come together, then you write a story for your life that gives meaning and purpose to experience.
So passion, purpose.
and unique talents. Well, everybody has unique talents.
Okay, so how do you identify your unique talents if you don't know what yours are?
What do you do when you do it? You lose track of time. So when I write, I lose track of time. When I speak as a public speaker, I lose track of time. That's one way to know. What would you do if you had all the time and all the money in the world? Some people say I'd travel. Well, then your purpose has linked to travel. Maybe you should run a travel agency or something like that. You know, there is always a way to link your job to your career and ultimately to your calling. Mm-hmm. When those three things come together, you're all set.
Great. We have another question from Sandra. She says, how do you go about detoxifying unnecessary things from your life? I think that's such a good question. Not only unnecessary things, but also unnecessary people.
If somebody creates distress in you, then ask yourself, what can I learn from this experience? Because, you know, in every relationship, whether it's good or bad, there's a learning experience. Number one. Number two, before you speak, ask yourself, is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? Will it make a difference? We talk too much most of the time. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, right now we're talking because we have a show.
Yeah.
But otherwise, you know, practice some economy of expenditure of energy. Speak less and listen more. And remember those four things that I mentioned: attention, affection, appreciation, and acceptance. These are the things that people are looking for, what you're looking for. So be aware of what you're observing, what you're feeling, what you need, and what's the best way to fulfill that need, what others are observing, feeling, thinking, needing, and help them fulfill their needs. That way you don't waste your time over unnecessary things that ultimately we call baggage. You know, we accumulate a lot of stuff as baggage, but we also accumulate a lot of emotional baggage in the form of resentments and grievances and all kinds of hostility and anger and fear and guilt and shame and depression. All of that, by the way, comes from not being connected to life and to the source of life, which is your own self, and which also is reflected in how you experience the world.
Is there like an exercise that you can do, or like something that you can just like physically do and to help you kind of clear your head and realize, okay, this relationship isn't the way that I want this relationship to be, or this relationship isn't
satisfying? First of all, it's important in any relationship to have honest, transparent communication without being victimized. So always, again, practice non-violence in your communication, and then ask each other what the need is that is not being met if there is some kind of conflict in the relationship. There are certain things that you can always do in any conflict. You can recognize that if you don't treat another person with respect, you lose them. Number two, in any conflict, there is a perception of injustice on both sides. Number three, you should learn to forgive and ask for forgiveness. Number four, you should refrain from belligerence. Number five, you should understand the principles of emotional intelligence, which means getting in touch with your feelings, getting in touch with the feelings of the other, communicating non-violently. Number six, you should understand another person's values and your values, and exchange in communication those values. Number seven, you should not bring in politics, which I do, or ideology or religion into a discussion. And number eight, you should recognize that in any conflict there's fear, and you should not be afraid of exposing your vulnerability, it actually makes it more likely that you'll get what you want. So if you follow certain of these principles, you can resolve most conflicts. And if in spite of that you can't, then better to
just
go
move.
your way.
Yeah, move on. Interesting. That's a lot of work. That's a lot.
It's not. I just said it right now.
Yeah, those are like, that's
Effortlessly,
like 10 steps.
Automatic. It should be automatic.
It should be automatic.
Yeah,
You're right.
if you're aware, it should be automatic.
Okay. We have another question from Dumparala. Sorry. Do you believe in God?
I believe in God, but not as a dead white male in the sky. I believe in God as the awareness in which all experience happens. So fundamentally, we are aspects of that awareness. So as the source of all experience, there is consciousness or awareness. And we as individuals are a drop in that ocean of consciousness. You know, the poet Rumi says, you're not just a drop in the ocean, you're also the ocean in the drop. So God is the divine element that connects us to all that is. And therefore, in the ultimate, God is love, but love not as a sentiment or an emotion. Love is the ultimate truth at the heart of the universe, the inseparability of all existence.
So beautiful. Judy asks, how do we deal with people in our family that have lost their way and who are gradually becoming strangers?
Give them attention, listen to them, notice good things in them, appreciation. Don't try to change them, care for them, and then let them be free.
Yeah, don't try to change them. That's a big one.
It's hard enough to change yourself, so stop trying to change others.
Sure. Okay. And we have another question from Gunjan, who says, how do you get to know yourself?
You get to know yourself by being quiet, by being still, through reflection, through mindful awareness of mental space, mindful awareness of your body, mindful awareness of the web of relationship, and ultimately being aware of being aware. Yeah,
waking up. Okay, I have another question for you. How does your level of consciousness affect your business?
Well, your level of consciousness affects everything. If you're scared and in fear, then the world will be fearful to you. Your blood pressure will be high, your platelets will be jittery, and your body will be inflamed. If you're in love with a person or with an idea or with life, then your body will be completely different. You'll be making all these happy molecules like oxytocin and dopamine and serotonin and opiates. You'll be modulating your immune system. So your biology is different in different states of awareness, but so is your perception of the world. So your personal relationships, so your social interactions, so is the way you deal with the environment, and so is your relationship with the universe. Business, it's a byproduct of your social interactions, your ability to serve, your ability to improve the quality of life of others. So your business is just one reflection of who you are and your state of being.
Okay, and that makes me wonder, do you think that love is real, or do you think that love is just chemical reactions?
Well, everything that you experience has a chemical component to it, but love is the only real thing there is.
It's beautiful. Okay, we have another question here. Okay. We have a lot of questions, so we should probably get into this a little bit more. And then I know we're going over now.
That's all right.
Yeah, we got a few more minutes.
A few more minutes.
We're not going to let you leave. You're just going to have to stay here. No, I'm just kidding.
My body will leave. I never go anywhere anyway. I've always stay home. I let my body travel.
That's so nice. That must be so nice.
It's amazing.
Especially in the city. That's so fantastic. But we have a lot of questions still on this, so maybe, I know you've spoken to it a little bit, but we have more questions on how do you accept yourself as a spiritual being, and how do you get to know your spiritual self? And I think that people are really lost on this one.
Well, first of all, they should read the book.
Yeah, read the book, yeah.
Read the book. But I do a daily Facebook Live too, where I answer these questions. And I've said many times that our existence is usually expresses itself as being, feeling, thinking, speaking, and doing. Okay, we start with being. So get in touch with your source. For that, meditation. Feeling. Focus on the highest feelings: love, compassion, joy, equanimity, empathy. Thinking. Refrain from dogmatic thinking. Let go of your habitual uncertainties. The highest thinking is reflection, asking questions. And then speaking. I already mentioned a few rules about speaking, right? Be kind and truthful and only speak when it's necessary. And then doing. Do what needs to be done, pursue excellence, and leave the results to the unknown. So my mantra is pursue excellence, ignore success. Well, if you follow that sequence, being at one extreme, doing at the other extreme, in between feeling, reflecting, speaking, doing. So what do we call that? Doobie doobie doo. So life is a dance.
Beautiful. What about how do you strike balance in your daily life?
Important to pay attention to a few things: good sleep, exercise and movement, healthy emotions, food that is not manufactured, refined, processed, or has too much sugar, healthy relationships. And I've become fascinated with something recently called grounding. So when you walk on the ground or in the beach, you feel very good, right? Because you connect with the earth and reset your biological rhythms. And there's a lot of data that when you get in touch with nature, you decrease the inflammation in the body.
Oh, wow.
And these days there are people who are manufacturing what are called grounding devices. So you can sit on this chair with a grounding mat. It'll connect you to the earth and it'll cut down all the inflammation in your body.
Oh.
So if you're interested in that, you can check out grounding devices on the internet.
Okay.
And you'll find a lot of information on that.
Interesting. Yeah, I would say that that's a must.
Yes.
You know.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Somebody asked an interesting question. Where exactly does your soul exist within the human body?
The whole soul doesn't exist in the human body. The body exists in the soul. If by soul we mean awareness, then awareness is non-local, which means it is not in space or time. The body is a local experience and in fact a modified form of awareness. So your soul is right now vibrating as your body, as your mind, and as the experience of the universe. So when you go to sleep at night, all these excitations start to dial down, first dreams and then deep sleep, then you're back to baseline. That's why when you wake up in the morning, if you've had a good night's sleep, you feel refreshed because you've returned to your soul.
Oh.
So your soul is not in your body is in your soul.
Okay. And then we have a few more questions as well, and I know you've got to get going. But do you believe in karma?
A lot of people misinterpret karma. Karma is just past experiences and the choices we made consciously or unconsciously, and how we interpreted them, and then how we recycle those choices like biological robots if you're not self-aware. So karma creates the situation, circumstances of your present life or this moment, but what you do with this moment is up to you. So karma is not binding. It just seems to be binding, but ultimately the goal of life is to be done with karma.
Yes, I love that. Be free of it. Okay, is there anything that you want to, is there anything that we haven't touched on? I have a few lists of things, like I feel like we could keep you on here talking all day, but
my body has something else to do in a little while, so
yeah,
maybe we should let it go.
Fair.
Okay. But thanks for having me today. It was fun.
Thank you. And you guys can, you have a website?
Go to, actually the best website if you want to continue with these discussions is discoveringyourcosmicself.com.
Yes.
Otherwise, even go to deepakchopra.com.
And then he's doing daily Facebook Lives. He's on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn as well. So they can follow you if they haven't already. Thank you so much again for coming on to Bookstr.
Thanks, Sara.
Really
I'll come
appreciate
again
it.
if you want me to.
We would love you to.
Okay.
Absolutely. We would love it. And thank you guys for the wonderful questions. They've been fantastic. And we can't wait to see you next time.
Cheers.